What's
What
going
is up,
on?
everyone? Welcome to the Double S NFL podcast. I am Sam.
And I'm
This is
Spencer.
Spencer, and we welcome you to our divisional round of the Double S NFL podcast.
Yeah. It was interesting last weekend. We'll get into it more soon, but there was it was a pretty boring weekend overall for football last weekend. But hopefully it's better this weekend. And without further ado, let's get into my awards and superlatives. I'm gonna start off with the offensive player of the year, and in third place, coming from the Tampa Bay Bucks, I have Tom Brady. He had a great season, but in my opinion, it was not worthy of either the offensive player of the year or MVP awards. Still great though. JT came in at a close two. He just kind of slowed down in the very end of the year and at the beginning of the year. He wasn't all that great, but still a phenomenal season, regardless. And the winner of this award will go to Cooper Kupp of the Rams. Historic season, nearly breaking Calvin Johnson, Megatron's receiving record. And he cemented himself, in my opinion, as the top 5 receiver this season. Defensive player of the year now. We have third place, Nick Bosa. Under the radar season, honestly. He was hurt last year, played week 1, but that's it. And then really came onto the scene this year with double-digit sacks like he had in 2019. And he was even better than his former self. And he's going to be a top player in this league for many, many years to come. Aaron Donald comes in at a close 2. Every year it seems like Aaron Donald's in the top 2, and this year is no different. He's a fourth in that defense, and he's really starting to cement himself as a top defensive player of all time, and I think he will be the greatest defensive player of all time after next season, when I think he'll win defensive player of the year next year. And the winner of this award, tying Strahan's sack record, is TJ Watt, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the edge rusher. He was phenomenal, and the Steelers team wouldn't have been where it was without him. Sam, do you want to go for your offensive and defensive player of the year?
I do. My offensive player of the year also comes from the Los Angeles Rams. It's also Cooper Kupp. And my defensive player of the year is also TJ Watt. I don't need to get much into it.
All right. Moving on to the offensive rookie of the year awards. In third
Spot
place,
on right here.
in third place,
I'm very glad to see no Mac Jones here.
Yeah, I hate when people have.
I'd put Najee Harris over Javonte Williams, but I don't really have that much of a problem with it.
Javonte I have over Najee simply due to his efficiency and what he can do. I saw a video of him. I was watching craziest runs, and he was in half of it. He can break tackles. He's efficient. He can do it all. He's going to be top 5 running back in a few years for sure. Creed comes in at number 2. He was the best center in football as a rookie. The best center in football. As we saw, the Chiefs' O-line was decimated by injuries in the Super Bowl, and as a result, they lost that game because of that. But they got Creed and Trey Smith, who were 2 great additions, and Creed being the best of the bunch. And then far and away, this does not need an explanation. Jamar Chase of the Bengals, he ignited that offense. Chemistry with Burrow, dating back to LSU, it's phenomenal. And it was insane this year. 1,455 yards in an historic rookie season for Jamar Chase. What do you have, Sam?
I also have Jamar Chase. Broke the record for most receiving yards in a rookie year. And you can't say much about
all that needs to be said
the effect he has.
If they took Penei Sewell, I doubt they would be in the place they are right now. All right.
But Penei Sewell is also really good.
Yeah. Defensive rookie of the year, moving on. 3 was kind of hard. I debated between Ojulari, Asante Samuel, Michael Carter from the Jets, Nate Hobbs, Jalen Phillips, Greg Rousseau. There were a lot of options here. But in third, I have Javon Holland. Dolphins have lacked a great safety for a while, but I think they found a gem in Javon Holland. Was easily the best player in the second round from this draft class, in my opinion. all over the field, and he was making impact play after impact play. Not best player from the second round, but one of the best Miami selections in a while. Number 2, Pat Surtain. I was skeptical of the pick at the time, but he proved me wrong. I just thought at the time they had a loaded quarterback room, which didn't turn out to be true. Surtain kind of carried the load there. And in first place, Micah Parsons, Defensive Player of the Year candidate as a rookie. Enough said.
Yeah, I also have Micah Parsons. The impact he had on the Cowboys defense, he was a great pickup. I know a lot of Cowboys fans wanted Patrick Surtain,
Yeah.
but now I think they're happy that they got Micah.
Who do you have at 2 and if you did a 2 and 3, who would you have? Who would you have?
I put Surtain at 2. I put Asante Samuel Jr. at.
Fair. I just think I would have put him here. I think he was really, really good, but the injuries were kind of a key factor in why I left him off this list. Coach of the Year in third place, Sean Payton from the Saints. I haven't seen many people with him in their top 3, but I think he's a top 3 coach in the entire NFL. And as a result, a top three coach of the year candidate. They went through so much this year, man. Marquez Callaway was the receiver 1. No tight ends, injuries all over the roster, rookies on defense. They still managed 9 wins, and I credit like 99% of that to Sean Payton. Number 2, Matt LaFleur. He's gotten underrated by a lot of people. I wasn't the biggest fan of him after last year's playoffs. That decision on 4th down, kicking a field goal in the NFC Championship, but he proved me wrong this year, and he was phenomenal. NFL record, 91 players. I think the Titans used this year. Derrick Henry was out, Brown, Julio, Tannehill wasn't playing up to his standards, and they still won 12 games. What a year from the Titans. I'm excited to see what they'll do in the playoffs. What do you have here, Sam?
My number 3 is also Sean Payton. My number 2 is actually Zach Taylor. He brought them from he helped bring them from a 4-win team.
His play calling was pretty skeptical at times.
But you can't deny that.
Yeah, he would have been my 4.
They had a 6-win improvement.
Who's your number?
My number 1's Mike Rabel.
Comeback player of the year. Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I do like to go first. My number 3 is Dak Prescott. He had a great year coming off. What do you have? A torn ACL?
I think it was a torn either Achilles or ACL.
Whichever, still serious knee injury. And he had a great year and brought Dallas back to the postseason for the first time since 2018. The result was underwhelming, but my number 2 is Nick Bosa. Excellent year. As you said, very under the radar year from him. My number 1 is Joe Burrow. As you can see, I'm a big believer in the Cincinnati Bengals.
I am too, but I'll tell you why I had Bosa over him. And the reason for this, I'll explain Dak too. Dak at 3, he was kind of inconsistent at times, but he was still a top 12 QB this year. And by no means is he bad. I like what I saw from him coming back from a catastrophic injury, and I think he'll be great next year. My number 2 is Joe Burrow, simply because I think you can make the same argument for Bosa, but I think Burrow, he didn't show me enough last year to be a comeback player. If he played the whole year, then maybe, but that's why I have Bosa. Bosa played a whole year in a game, opposed to Burrows. He only played up to late November. You want to go your MVP pick, Sam?
I also have Aaron Rodgers.
You have Rodgers?
Yes.
Who do you have at 3? I assume you have Brady at 2.
My number 3 is Patrick Mahomes, actually.
I just think the beginning of the season, it got in the way too much.
It's very hard to have a 7-game winning streak as an NFL, and you have to give credit to the quarterback. Josh Allen was also very inconsistent at times this year as well.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So it's not really on here, but what do you think was the game of the year this year?
The game of the year for me, Bengals versus the Chiefs, Week 17.
Back in Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow that game.
Chiefs fans are still very salty about that game.
The best game of the season, in my opinion, was Chargers and Raiders. Sunday Night Football, Week 18, winning in situation unless they tied, and they almost did tie, which is the crazy part. That's most of the reason I have it on here.
Did you see what Herbert said during
yeah, I did. He's like, didn't he say I'd rather tie? I think it was.
I never wanted to tie so bad in my life.
Yeah. I would have much rather seen Herbert in the playoffs over Big Ben.
Absolutely, but that's what happens when you lose to the Texans.
Yeah. All right. Most disappointing player of the year. Who do you have?
I want to do a whole group as a whole.
Okay.
The Washington football team defense.
Yeah, Chase Young, even when
especially that secondary.
I think coaching is a big part in that too. I'm gonna do a player and a position unit, then I'll do a team after. I'm gonna start off with a player, and it might be surprising, but this is a lot based off expectations, based to actual performance. Sure, situation was not the best. Rookie quarterback, bad head coach. But Allen Robinson's pick for me. He really fell off the planet Earth this year. He was not good.
He put up numbers with Blake Bortles, Mitch Trubisky, and
not Dalton, but Foles last year.
Yes, and then you can't do shit with Justin Fields.
That's embarrassing. Yeah. My most disappointing position group. I'd have. This is probably you. It's a really tough call for me, but I'm gonna go with the Chargers receivers here. It's more depth than Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton, Josh Palmer. I did not like what I saw from them, and I thought they'd be top of the league this year. And then the most disappointing team in the NFL. My answer might be different than yours because I had a lot of expectations for this team, and they just disappointed me. Minnesota.
There we go.
You thought they were too?
Yep.
Every year I have such high hopes for them, and they always disappoint.
Yeah, there's not much you can say. The coaching was awful.
Yeah, who's your most disappointing player?
I'd have to go with A-Rob as well.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to most surprising. I'm going to start off with most surprising team, and here's where I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Pretty obvious choice here. I had them at 5-12 or 6-11, and they won 10 games. Pretty sure no one could have seen that coming. Most surprising player this year. I'm going to go with, even though he does get a lot of backlash, I'm going to take Trevon Diggs here. No one was expecting the season he had. Even he was inconsistent at times. He's still a really, really good cornerback one, and I think he'll be a top 15 corner for years to come. And then the most surprising position group this season, I'm going to go with the New York Jets offensive line here. George Fant had a career season. McGovern had a career season. Moses played really well. Vera Tucker showed a lot of flashes. And I was really impressed, especially as a Jets fan, with how the O-line held up for Zach Wilson with the exception of week 1 and 18.
I agree with the player and the team. I have to go with the Raiders pass rush. Ngakoue stepped up. Max Crosby was fantastic. Carl Nassib was really good when he played.
Carl Nassib. Yeah, he's talented though. All right. Moving on to our final segment of awards here. Who do you think was the what do you think was the worst game of the year?
Texans Dolphins.
Same. Wasn't even a question for me.
That game was so bad on so many levels.
I think there were like 9 turnovers.
What was the
So
final score? Like 17-9?
17-9. Yep. And
I
then what
wanted to
about
say Dolphins Giants.
Dolphins defense was like what about best comeback story of the year?
Best comeback story. I love how the NFL sort of like embraced the Bengals, embraced Joe Burrow.
Joe Shiesty, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Um Comeback, not really a comeback, but it's like a revival from like what happened earlier in his career. I'm so happy for Stafford, man. I've been rooting for him his whole career in Detroit, and finally getting a playoff win. It's great to see.
His first playoff when it's its 13th year.
13th year in the league. Yep. All right. And what about most disappointing rookie?
Most disappointing rookie.
I'd say Trevor pretty easily.
Yeah, I'd say Trevor too.
Yeah. Oh, one more before we move on. Assistant coach of the year. Who do you have?
Assistant coach of the year.
Could be a coordinator of the year.
Who's the Bengals offensive coordinator?
Brian Callahan.
Him.
Him. I'm gonna go with Dan Quinn just because like how that defense evolved from 2020 to
He's my
2020.
number 2.
Yeah. My number 2 is Leslie Frazier.
Buffalo's defense had a very under the radar year.
I think they were the best defense in football most of the year.
I think they had the best passing defense. Like they allowed the least passing yards in the league.
All right. Moving on to our next segment tonight, and that will be playoff divisional round predictions. I'm gonna get started with the Saturday games. I'm gonna do.
Can we recap how we did last week?
Oh yeah, we will. Do you want to go first?
Let's do you first. I
All
know
right,
you.
so let's start off with the good. Let's start off with the good here. And I did pretty well on the AFC side. I went 2-1, and the game, the Raiders Bengals game was the game I got wrong. It's kind of a toss up. All right. I predicted the Buffalo blowout. I had them winning by 20. They won by 30. I knew it'd be a blowout there, and I was right. Kansas City over Pittsburgh. They won by 21. I had them winning by 14, but still a solid pick there. And my wrong pick here was the Raiders by 2 over Cincinnati. That was a toss-up game, but I'm not surprised the Bengals won. Moving on to the NFC wildcard, I had Tampa Bay over Philly 27-12. I was pretty close on that one. Big miss here. I had Arizona over the Rams 28-16. Kyler just shit the bed. And then probably my worst pick in quite some time. I had the Cowboys as I had them winning the Super Bowl, winning this week, and they were eliminated by the Niners.
You can't trust Dallas in critical situations.
I'm not doing it anymore. Never doing it anymore. What about you, Howard?
I went 5-1. With the only game I had wrong being Arizona and the LA Rams. Yeah, that nobody expected that game to be that much of a blowout.
All right. Moving on to our divisional round picks. I'm going to start off with the Bengals and the Titans on Saturday, and I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans to win this one in a close one. 28-25. I think it's back and forth, but I think the return of King Henry is too much for the Bengals run defense.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals in this one.
Interesting.
I have it in a shootout. I have the Bengals winning 35-32.
Do you think King Henry plays well?
I do. I just don't think the ball will end up in Tannehill's hands, and I think he chokes under the pressure.
Yeah, that's what happens in the past. All right. Moving on to the Niners traveling to Lambeau Field. I could see this game going 2 different ways. I can see a Packers blowout, and I can see a Niners close win. And the result I'm going to choose is the Packers blowout. I just think Jimmy is going to struggle mightily. He's not great under pressure. And I think Za'Darius is coming back. It's going to be too much for him. Packers win pretty convincingly, 35-20.
I agree. But instead, I'm going to go 38-24.
All right, moving on to the Sunday games, the Rams and the Bucks. In my opinion, this will be the game of the year. Divisional round in Tampa Bay, 3 p.m. Sunday. Stafford, Brady, OBJ, Evans. What's there not to like here? But I have the LA Rams in overtime, winning this one, 30-27. It'll be neck and neck, and I think the Rams pull it out with a minute left in overtime, and Matt Stafford wins his second straight playoff game.
I have the Buccaneers winning 37-34 on a last-second field goal.
Oh, we both have them on field goals to end the game. And the final pick here, the Bills and the Chiefs. Bills beat them 38-20 earlier in the year. Can they do it again? Will they? I think they will. I don't think it'll be by as much, but I think the Bills win 28-21 here.
I think the Bills win 31-16.
Wow. Why by so much?
I think Kansas City struggles in this one against the Bills' top passing defense.
Stephon Diggs gets his revenge after that picture last year.
Yep. And so
right.
I have a Bengals Bills AFC Championship and a Packers Bucks NFC Championship.
And I have a Titans Bills AFC Championship in a Rams Packers NFC Championship, and we're not going to pick those right now. We're just going to do this week. So I hope you all enjoy this episode. Next week we're going to do championship picks, obviously, and some more. Signing off for Sam and Spencer.